long time.
What's happening?
It's good to see you all.
It's good to see you as well.
How y'all been doing?
Great. Just great.
Good. Oh, you look older.
Do I?
You done grown up since the last time I seen you.
That's not nice to say.
You know when people don't know what to say, so they just start saying.
Right.
You looking good. You looking well, like somebody to feed you. That means you gain weight.
Right. I definitely had this older woman before. She was a pastor. This was in my early 20s, but she knew me since I was like an earlier teenager. When she seen me, she didn't even recognize me. I'm like, hey, Pastor Reed. She like, hey, son, how you doing? I'm like, you don't remember me? I'm like, I'm Pastor Wilson's son. She was like, you Pastor Wilson's son? I said, yeah. She said, wow, time has really done wonders for you, son.
She said the glow up is real.
I think she just said I was ugly.
She sure did.
That was a nice way of her calling me ugly. Okay. Time has done wonders for you.
All right, so what are we going with on that topic?
It's all in the chat.
Oh, I missed it all, honey. Let me figure it out.
It's cool. I got the videos queued up.
You gonna play it? Okay, good. So I just do it on demand.
Yeah. So
I think I need to brush my teeth.
Jesus. All right, let's get. All right, here we go. Kelly, you want to do it since you're back?
Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
First of all, Terry, you look nice.
I do.
I ain't never seen you like in a real shirt.
Well, this is the Terry that has to work for somebody else now.
Hey, a real shirt. I think you didn't shave and
Well, yeah, I haven't.
Hair growing out a little bit more.
Well, I haven't had to work for somebody else in about 16, 17 years. So
I see the difference.
now I'm working. Well, yeah, I'm working for somebody else. It's different. So.
You look nice. You look all nice and professional.
Of course. Well, you pay for the good Terry, you get the good Terry. You know.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got some remnants of it tonight. She came back.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. Those of y'all viewing and Kelly, who is on fire tonight. to another edition of the Worst Ones Podcast.
Let me go first.
We ain't got
there yet.
Oh. This is gonna be a long hour. All right.
We are the Worst Ones. We are Preacher's Kids. This is the place where Preacher's Kids can come and be the absolute worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I'm a Preacher's Kid. Kellie Leasy is back in the building. She is a Preacher's Kid. Terry Weezy is in the building. He's a Preacher's Kid. And today, Janessa she's already announced on the last episode and the episode before that, so y'all already know where she's at. It is her birthday today. So she is not here, but happy birthday to her. So I guess we'll start with Terry first and we'll end with Kelly, since Kelly has the longest hiatus as far as being here. Also, Terry, how are you? Your nice clothes that Kelly has addressed already.
Purple look nice on you.
Yeah, I started a new job this week. I am a restaurant manager.
There you go.
Yeah, it fits me. I don't want to say. I'm not going to say who, just because. Why bother? But it's a brand, and we've all been there. I'm certain.
Olive Garden.
Huh?
Olive Garden.
No.
I know that's your favorite.
Your Osteen's.
It is not, and I wouldn't even work for Olive Garden. I wouldn't. That would be too much of it. No, this is a wholesome family company. Yes. No, it's No, you've probably been there on like when you were a kid, family road trips, things like that. But anyway,
I said not Golden Corral. What's the other
I
place
think you
called?
said it last week. It was the Cracker Barrel, right?
Cracker Barrel. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say. I'll say this, having started with them, they are a wonderful company who treats everybody with a lot of dignity and respect, and I'm glad I joined their team. Yeah, which when I'm not really a corporate guy, I can do it. I know how to navigate that realm, but this is unlike any other corporation I've been involved with, because there's a lot of good sense and a lot of respect and a lot of, let's just say, similar vibes to a church setting. So it's very wholesome, and honestly, I think it's going to be a good influence on me. So going into fatherhood, which is great. So yep. And your prayers didn't work for my wife. She's still laid up with the morning sickness, so pray harder, or pray better. I don't know. Pray more. I don't know how it works, but
I think it's just, I guess it's just not in God's will. Our prayer. We didn't. I guess it's just something she's gonna have to just endure, for whatever reason. But I pray that
if it goes on much longer, I'm going to talk to the other guy and see what he can do. No, I'm kidding.
We just pray that God gives her the grace to endure it as she has to go through these natural.
Yes, I know it builds character, but you can stop now. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what's going on in my world. Oh, and my birthday is on Sunday. So
your birthday's coming up too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Sunday, and luckily for some reason I have no idea, but nobody is working on Monday, so perfect for me.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
the restaurant closed on Monday.
No one in my particular department is working on Sunday, so can't really go into it, but whatever. It just is what it is.
Cool, works out for you.
All right, Kellie.
Well, I am doing wonderful. Today has been a very productive day for me. I got some coffee from the McDonald's on Old National Highway. I don't know for you who don't live in Atlanta, Old National Highway is the bit of the hood. And I think they may have put like some extra something in my coffee because I have been on 1,000 all day. But when I tell you I've been productive, it's been amazing. So if I'm a little more energetic today, that is probably why. This coffee that I had at 10 o'clock this morning is still hitting.
No, I think it's the Adderall they ground up and put in there. That's what I think.
I mean, they did something right. Definitely put something in my coffee this morning. And I've had coffee from this place a couple of times, and it's never done what it's done today. But it's good. So that's one. Two, miss you guys. Been out for 2 weeks. I hear a bit of my echo.
I was gonna say, Terry, I think it's your headphone is echoing it's giving feedback.
I can try.
Get your other one. Go ahead.
Yeah, because that's better. So 2 weeks ago, so speaking of being a preacher's kid, and my dad being a youth pastor, so growing up, our youth ministry was like a tight-knit group. You had your people who we kind of did everything together. In terms of like supporting people's basketball games and football games and community service and Bible studies and youth council and all of that. And so there was one family in particular, they had a bunch of boys and they were part of this tight-knit family. And so the youngest of the boys, they were called the Kellie boys, passed away 2 weeks ago. Oh, wow. And so unexpectedly, he was dealing with some medical things and like I said, passed away unexpectedly. And so 2 Wednesdays ago is when I got the call. His brother back when I was growing up was one of my really close friends. And so when he called, we hadn't talked for years. And so when he reached out to call, I knew that, something had happened. And so to hear the pain and the hurt in his voice, and again, someone that I grew up with was tough. Yeah, was really tough. And so that's why I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, just kind of processing that. And then it took me a minute to kind of just reset with just everything. But I feel like, I know for a lot of people, the time change has been like hard to adjust. But I feel like the time change has like helped me. For some reason, I've been like up earlier this week and kind of, I don't know why. I've been making it to work on time this week. Like, and they really should have done the opposite because I
right.
an hour or whatever.
Right.
So my body is kind of operating strangely.
Okay.
But I take it because the last 2 weeks I was just kind of, like I said, just in a spirit of processing and kind of down. And so I felt a little better this week. And so I'm happy to be back. Happy to see you too. Happy birthday, Janessa. I miss you today. But yeah, but I'm doing all right now. Doing all right.
Good. Yeah. No, sometimes resets are good. You know what I'm saying? Especially when, you know, life is going to life regardless. You know, you just gotta take it as it comes, man. So yeah. We wasn't mad at you. I understood completely.
I appreciate that.
So, yeah, man. Well, not much change. Not much. You're on mute, Terry.
Oh, I said I was mad at you, and I'm still holding it. So. Is the echo better now?
Yeah, you good.
Okay.
Yeah, not much has changed with me. I'm still wearing my regular shirts, and
no new job.
Right. My job actually still requires me to work in a t-shirt and Planet Fitness. So I'm still out here. You know, ain't much at all. But yeah, I'm good though. All is well. No complaints. Like I said, my dad's birthday is coming up, whenever the 16th is. But he's kind of like me. He don't be caring about his birthday. So I'm pretty sure not much will happen special. But we'll see.
And Rudy, I see you in about a month in person.
Yeah, out there in California.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. We won't be there on a Wednesday to record together, but
right.
Now, actually, I will be there on Wednesday. So I got to work that out because I will be there on Wednesday. But so I may not record that Wednesday because I'll be on a flight. Just thought about that. But I'll see you in about a month.
Yeah. Baby shower.
Yeah.
We will be there. Yeah, no, California is always a good time.
Yeah.
All right. So let me pull this up. So Janessa sent 2 different links. I'm gonna play the first one just because it gives kind of more to talk about. So just to preface what I'm getting ready to play, Pastor Tye Tribbett, or Tribbett, however you pronounce it, he was on the Breakfast Club, which is, for those who don't know what that is, that's a nationally syndicated morning radio show. And he made some comments in reference to how he feels about just say the church, and he's got a lot of backlash for it. So this link that Janessa sent, it has a piece, a snippet of what Tye Tribbett said, and then it has a response by Pastor Mike, who I can't remember the name of his church, but he has a pretty popular church as well. He's a gospel artist as well. Then his response, and so I'll play both of them, and they're both pretty short, and then we can come right to it. So let me share my screen.
It's a system. Everything is a system, and systems work with or without God. So I think the institution of church is whack. I think how church is ran is whack. I think the religious system and structure is whack. I don't subscribe to it, even though I grew up in it. I benefited from it, but I learned that God is not the church. And once I realized, whoa, God ain't church. That for me, you know what I mean? I ain't from the streets. I'm from the church. So that was a huge thing as well.
It's in the Bible. It says you can't even find God in a man-made temple.
Why don't we read that though? How often do you hear that sermon? No, you hear pastors make the people about the church. We got the church name, we church and the bumper sticker, the church. The church should be about the people. The church should be about the people, but the church makes the people about the church. So all churches now are a movement, but they're not about They're not about serving and loving the people.
This morning, I heard an interview from Tye Tribbett on The Breakfast Club, and I get what he was trying to say, but he made a statement that was very irresponsible on the wrong platform. He said the church is whack. How can you go on a national platform and totally throw under the bus the very institution that made you who you are? You, sir, had an opportunity to shine God's light, to push people back into the place of healing, but instead you wanted to feel cool. You could have been a light. You could have told people, man, falling in love with God was the best thing I've ever done, and I found the right church. Go find the right church. You don't know who's going to take that statement and walk away from a church that could have really impacted their lives. My church isn't perfect. There is no perfect church. Just like there's no perfect restaurant, there's no perfect radio show. Everybody falls short. I literally met you in church. Meeting you changed my life forever. The church is not whack.
So I want to know y'all thoughts, and we want to know, is it Tye Tribbett or is Tye Trippin?
I reject. I reject your topic title, but because I don't think it's either. I don't think either one wins, to be honest with you. Not flat out. Because I mean, he makes a good point. Like the Bible does say that, and I've always felt that way. At least since I got old enough to make my own decisions about that kind of thing. It's, God isn't the church and the church isn't God. I've always, since my teenage years, I've always kind of looked at the church like it's a social club for people who believe the same thing. And I think it provides a lot of great things. It's community support. It's support for each other. It's support for your common beliefs. I think the church has really changed around the early 1980s. I don't want to point any fingers, Ronald Reagan, but the silent majority, as they called it back then, basically they politicized American Christianity for their own ends, probably. I mean, there's tapes of their meetings where they're basically saying, like, yeah, if we can just say that we're the moral majority, which is what they went by, we're the moral majority and we should be steering politics in the country. And then all of a sudden, it just like changed and morphed through the 90s. And by the early 2000s, if you were Christian, you were Republican and you supported this. And, this is how and now, as late, I remember being at a church in 2017, it was 2017 or 2018, listening to a pastor at the pulpit before his sermon and during it, making references to, this is why we need to elect this person. And this is why we need to support President Trump. And I'm like, am I at a rally? Who are we here to serve today?
Right.
Who did you come to worship, one person or the other? And we all know what it says about that. You can't serve two masters.
Right.
So I get what he's saying, because I know it can be poisonous. I know that the church can evolve into something negative and can really take away from it. So I kind of get what he's saying. He's saying it in the worst possible way. Like he's putting it in the worst possible font and picking all the wrong words to use. I would never say that it's whack. And I know how bad that sounds coming from this space, but and to be honest, saying the word whack is too white for me. But anyway, I don't think the church is whack. I think it serves a purpose. I think it has served a purpose for a lot of people for a long time. I think it's done more good than harm. And I think he's being very judgmental about certain aspects. I think that because he grew up in the church, he had some bad experiences. I know I had some bad experiences. I've talked about them on here, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And as far as the other guy, his criticisms were way too strict, I think. I get what he's saying. He's defending his church, which I also just did. but I think I did it in a more understanding, a little more open-minded way than he was. So that's me. Neither one wins.
Yeah, I agree with you, Terry. I feel like his delivery was terrible in terms of what he was trying to say. Like I said, he didn't, and I don't know if he ever explicitly said church is whack, the institution of church, the systems of church, those things are whack. I don't necessarily agree with that. I agree that like church, and I do agree that church is not God. That it is a place where we commune to fellowship, to worship God, but church is not God. It is a building, like I said, where we come to fellowship. I do agree that right, some churches these days, and we've talked about some of the I don't know if unanointed is the word, but some of these pastors that are not anointed, that have built these churches and have these congregations that should not be in leadership in terms of anybody's spirituality, are probably leading their congregation down a terrible path. And so in that space, I understand where we're doing a disservice to people. It was some pastor who is going to jail for something, I keep seeing.
The bishop in New York who was like scamming people. He was the one that supposedly got robbed on
yeah. So right. So in those instances, I can definitely see where people experience church hurt, and they may turn away from church in that space. But Tye Tribbett also indicated that church was a place that benefited him.
He benefited from it,
that he benefited from it. And so, and I don't know if that was in terms of his own personal spirituality or his professional, I didn't think about it right now.
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the professional.
Well, but that's a dangerous path. You go ahead and finish, but I'm just going to say it. But go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that because I know that the guy who was criticizing him said the same thing. A church that has given you so much. That's like saying, okay, well, you became successful using this path. So don't you think you owe us something? Don't you think you need to change your opinions to benefit us? Or don't you think, that's a real dangerous path. And that's how people become corrupt. And that's how beliefs become corrupt. And it's like, hey, we made you famous and we made you rich. So don't tell us what you really think. You should be telling us what we want to hear. And that's how things go real bad, real fast.
I didn't even really see it that way when I heard it the first time, or even the second time when I heard him say, a church that has benefited me. I don't even think I looked at it as his professional artistry.
Right.
Me and maybe being naive in the situation, thought of it more of like spiritually in his spiritual walk with God, that that church has helped him. Like I said, and maybe I was naive when I heard it the first time, and it kind of just dawned on me like, oh, wait a minute, he may be talking about church has benefited him in terms of there are churchgoers who listen to his music, or the people who believe in Jesus and go to church who listen to his music. When you think about the big concert that Kirk Franklin just had, those are, I'm sure 70-80% of them are the churchgoers. He is now going on his own tour. I'm sure most of them are the churchgoers. But I think, to me, again, to use the words, his delivery was terrible, to use the word whack in any form as it relates to spirituality in church or whatever. I feel like it isn't the best way to express what I feel like he was trying to say. And again, into Pastor Mike or whoever, I don't know him, but to his point, like, you have this opportunity in this platform to bring people in, and your words so easily can push people away, because the Breakfast Club is a very popular radio show, for a lot of people, and people who misunderstand what it is that he's saying may take that and say, well, I don't, and not that. And here's the thing, not that you have to go to church. Because as he said, church is not God. You can be a Christian, you can have your personal relationship with God, you can be a spiritual person and not go to church.
Mm-hmm.
But that
But
doesn't
there's
mean
that. Not everybody believes that. There are people who believe that you're not being a good Christian and you're not going to go to heaven unless you have your butt in that pew every Sunday. There are people who believe that.
right. And I don't believe that. But for me, you know, I go to church to fellowship with other churchgoers. I go to church to have someone who is hopefully anointed and lead a praise and worship me into the spirit of the Lord amongst other people, to hear a good word that takes me, you know, throughout my week and speaks to where I am in life. Like that is what church does for me, but that isn't the only place that I connect with God. That isn't the only place where I can talk to God, where I can see God, where I can feel God. And so in the sense of him saying, or if he's saying that church isn't the only place where you can commune with God, I agree with that, because it isn't. But I do know so many people who just feel like, I go to church on Sunday for 2 hours, I'm good for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some points in
We
there
don't
where
all know.
we three all know.
Okay, yeah, we know, but
we
not
three all know. You know, but to that point, not everyone knows that. And so again, to Pastor Mike's point, I do think that Tye Tribbett had a opportunity to, and again, we just heard a snippet of the entire interview. So I'm always gonna say that too. We heard a snippet of the entire interview. I do think he could have chosen better wording. Especially on a place like the Breakfast Club, because the Breakfast Club is known to, they like the drama, they like the chaos, they like the antics, they like all of that. Charlemagne is like poster boy for that. And so he could have chosen his words differently, you know, to be able to make his point a little better. But like I said, he had some points in there. I think his delivery was wrong, and I don't necessarily agree.
Right.
Well, make no mistake, his critic is flat out saying, I mean, I know you didn't hear it that way, but you're a good egg, so you didn't hear it that way. Well, you're here in your spiritual journey, and that's what benefited. No, his critic was basically saying, we gave you a livelihood. We put you on the track you're on right now. What is this turning around? Like it sounded very vindictive to me.
Yeah. And I it's personal real quick and then we'll go back. But I've recognized recently how much of like a bubble that I live in my perspective of things may not always reflect the reality, because I didn't. Like it didn't until I started talking. It didn't even hit me like, oh shoot, he may be talking about music and not just his personal journey, you know? Like, and so yes, so I hear what you're saying, but it's funny that I did not hear that the first time.
So for me, for one, I actually am a frequent listener of the Breakfast Club. So I heard this this interview just say in real time. And real time is relative because they pre-recorded, so I didn't technically hear it live, but live for their show. And then even seeing the interview the day of that it came out. And quite honestly, and I don't know if it's because I live in a bubble or I don't care about just saying everybody's perspective like that. When I heard it, I honestly didn't hear anything that was going to get backlash until the backlash started. You know what I'm saying? Like I was actually more shocked that this was as big of a thing as it is. Because to me, I guess I understood what he was saying, and not even trying to say whatever like that. And I personally don't necessarily think he was irresponsible with his words. And maybe it's also because I heard the full interview, and because he even like came back to it and even explained why he was using the word whack and et cetera, et cetera. And so maybe my brain just subconsciously had more context to go with. But for one, that's the danger of not only snippets, but then people and when I say people, just us as a human race, we all have selective hearing. You feel what I'm saying? Like, because if him saying the institution of church is whack, right? But all church people are going to hear is they're going to take out institution, and all they're going to hear is church is whack. You feel what I'm saying? And then it don't matter what he explained after that. That's just all we're going to hear. And so, like, how can Tye Tribbett call church whack? You a pastor of a church currently. Then, like I said, you've grown up in church your whole life. You're I believe he was a PK. And then to the point of even his music career, you benefited from it because you made gospel music, et cetera, et cetera. But to the points that I heard and to the points that he made, like, I agreed wholeheartedly. You know what I'm saying? Like that, the way, and not even just the corrupt version of church in reference to people scamming people out of money or whatever like that, but churches are more concerned with their brand of the actual church more than helping the people. And that's not every single church, obviously. Nothing is 100%, but the large majority, especially of what we see in front of us every day in person, like it's more about join my ministry, like you were saying, bumper stickers, whatever like that. Like it's more about that than you just say the church being about the people or the church being about, leading people to God or whatever like that. And I agree wholeheartedly. Can people who don't go to church hear that and it pushed them further away from church? Sure. And I get if people just say, have an issue with that or whatever like that. But people who have a problem with church are going to always find a problem with church, whether Tye Tribbett made his statements or not. They're gonna have these different issues because there's always something going on, which is why we had 2 episodes of what I called "Is the Devil Trolling God" on the internet, because there's always something that can just say shine a negative light, on church. And for those of us who have our own personal relationships with God, we don't allow that to affect us. But then those who don't have a personal relationship with God or may have even been church or whatever like that, that's going to, affect them one way. And ultimately, like I said, I didn't disagree with anything that he said because I heard the full interview and I could hear his heart and his sentiment in what he was saying. I wasn't caught up on the verbiage, and even going back to my first time hearing the Pastor Mike's critique or whatever, I didn't even know he made that until Janessa put it in the chat. But me even hearing that, I'm with Terry on that in the sense of I feel like he was more or less talking about like you benefited with your music career, like we. You know what I'm saying? Like the church is what helped you become who you even are, why you even on the Breakfast Club, why you even won a Grammy, et cetera, et cetera. So like you know,
he's right though. That is true.
Right. You shouldn't be just say, dogging out the church. But for one, I don't feel in any form or fashion that Tye Tribbett was dogging out the church. And I don't think that just because let's even take it away from the church saying, I don't think that in any situation, like just because somebody may have given me a platform that it's above just say critique. You feel what I'm saying? Like if this podcast right here allowed me to, sell out arenas on a comedy tour, you feel what I'm saying? That do I necessarily bash it for just say the little minuscule struggles that we've had to keep this podcast going? No, but if for whatever reason, like something happened on this podcast that I felt like is a detriment to helping people or society or whatever the case may be, just because it put me on this level does not mean that I can't say, yo, like I appreciate what the Worst Ones did for me, but we're destroying people over here, you know what I'm saying, in this area. And I feel like his critique was valid. If people feel like his choice of words were a little off brand, I mean, to each his own. I don't, but I totally heard what he was saying. Like I said, I was more shocked about it even getting backlash than what he actually said.
Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show.
I think the thing that really irked me the most was if you went on, like you said, and you sell out arenas for comedy because of this, you won't. But if you did do all that, that would be like me and Kellie and Janessa coming back and be like, hey, you owe us something now because, we got you there. And that is not the attitude. That is not the attitude to have. That is not being showing humility. Now, granted, if you got all that, if you're the next Kevin Hart because of this, you should.
You owe me.
Okay, no. I'm saying you should naturally, obviously, want to make it right. But I'm not going to sit there and hold it over your head either. However, I'll say this: his original comments about that. While he's correct, and I believe he's correct in saying, I don't have to follow you just because you got me here. I believe that, and I agree with that. But at the other, on the other side, you're showing your lack of class. You know what I mean? Because the way I was raised and where I came from, you left with the girl who brought you here. You don't go find the bigger, better deal and then leave her alone. And leave her holding the bag. You leave with the one that brought you.
Yeah, but a girl may have brought me to the prom, but if I see that girl go, slap the glasses off the nerdy girl and throw,
all right,
and throw punch on her dress,
that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Nobody did that in this case because
he's calling the institution of church whack because of.
Yeah, but you're mixing it up. When I'm saying it's the opposite. He's the one that got brought in this case. He's the one that got brought. Right.
I'm clear.
Right. Nobody's slapping glasses. Okay. What I'm saying is it's just you're showing your lack of class. Is it morally wrong to have an opinion against the church that built you? No. Because you should be able to criticize those in power and the positions and systems that have been built. You should be able to. That's what America was built on, was criticizing those in power, criticizing those systems that we were brought up in. However, there's a way to do it that's rude, and there's a way to do it that's not rude. And he chose the rude option. So that's his fault.
But the reason why I said the slap the glasses and pouring the punch is because the girl that brought him is the church. And if he feels like the church has now done somebody wrong, and it's not even like he's walking away from the church. It's not like he's leaving the church. He's just saying we need to go about it a different way.
Right. I mean, I get it again, but there's a classy way to say it and an unclassy way to say it.
So 3 things. I only remember one right now. One, most importantly, if you go and you the next Kevin Hart from this podcast, baby, you owe me.
Yeah.
Wow. I need to hear the worst ones in Kellie Lee in your openings, in your closings, and your thank you speeches. 2, I think context and lens are important.
Somebody's a Kellie Rowland fan. That's what I'm hearing.
What does that even mean?
That means that, Destiny's Child is what made Beyonce, and then she just left them all in. So you're a Kellie Rowland fan.
Beyonce was always Beyonce. Now Rudy may be Rudy.
Beyonce wouldn't be Beyonce without the other two. Okay, just saying.
I don't know.
No, you can all you want. I was there. I was a grown adult when she was still in Destiny's Child. So
I don't know. But Destiny's Child was definitely a great foundation for Beyonce. Rudy may be the star of this show. I don't know.
Hey, Justin Timberlake didn't turn his back on NSYNC. That's all I'm saying. So,
but if Rudy go with Big Kevin Hart, Rudy on me. The worst ones, Kellie Lee. Opening, closing. Now, don't make no jokes about me.
Opening, closing. What? Well, no, you don't get to be a part if you don't get conditions. You don't. Just Lord Princess Kellie, everyone, but no jokes about her.
No, exactly.
You must be reverent.
Exactly. Absolutely. Is how
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You're being ridiculous.
What's point 2 and 3?
You're being whack. Right?
What's point 2? What's point 2?
Okay, point 2.
Yeah.
Context and lens matters. So in terms of, like you said, so you come in with a different viewpoint because you had more context. You heard the entire interview, where we only heard this one piece where he speaks so passionately about the institution of church. You've heard what led up to him saying that. You heard where he circled back to trying to understand or try to help the listener understand what whack means. See, we only heard this 1 20-second clip and we're going off that. And so, and I think we've said this a lot about a lot of the social media posts or interviews that we've looked at, and we only see this one piece. That context matters. And maybe me and Terry would have a different thought if we've heard the whole thing, because I also heard you say like you understood his heart as he was saying it. We don't see the heart in this 15-20 seconds. You know what I'm saying?
No, I heard enough. I'm pretty clear on the subject. I don't need to hear any more. It's fine.
But he missing some context, right? And so
not really. I got it.
you missing some context. You missing some beginning and the end. You know, and that's, and love you, Terry, but that's a part of it too. Like sometimes we're so, and again, lens, we're so focused on the way in which we see things that it's hard for us to see it from somebody else's perspective. And I think that's something that I'm learning personally, is that Kellie, your lens isn't always clear or correct. And where you think that, you know, what I say is fact, because from my experiences, from my life, from my approaches to, you know, to life, that this is right and this is it. Like I've learned that, like, Kellie, you got some blind spots in your lenses as well. And so, but I think a lot of people miss that. A lot of people don't understand that. And so we speak so emphatically about things, and we're so right about things when we can only see things through this lens. And so I think context and lens are important. My third
but I got the context. I mean, those were long as far as reels.
I don't remember point 3 because she's gonna forget it.
No, I'm just saying, as far as reels go, those were the long form reels. You know, there was a full minute each on those. So.
Yeah,
right.
Out
of a 30, 40 minute, like how long was the interview? Out of a 20, 30 minute?
Probably almost 50 minutes.
Right. Out of an hour interview. Thank you. An hour interview. We heard a 1 minute clip. I do. Now, it doesn't make me, a part of me is like, oh, I wish I could hear the rest of it. Then a part of me is like, I don't really care that much. You know, but I do think that it's important to note that we only got a minute out of all of it, because a part of me wished there was another 1 minute clip where I could hear where he go back and define what whack means. Am I gonna go search for it? No. Am I gonna go listen to it? No.
And which most people don't. And I'm not saying that you have to, Kellie, because you're only really even addressing this because it's the topic today. You probably wouldn't have cared.
I didn't even hear about it.
Right. One way or the other. But that is the danger in people, and then even a lot of people who make content about it, is because they're going to only watch the clip. Nobody's going to actually go back and watch the episode, and then, especially for the people who are really angered about it. Now, that's one thing. Like I said, Janessa presented this to us. Because even I had already known about this, and I still put in the group chat today, like, hey, so what we talking about? I wasn't even thinking about this even being a topic because it didn't ruffle my feathers at all. You feel what I'm saying? But then when I'm realizing it's a big thing, it's like, okay, yeah, well then let's go ahead and have, you know, the discussion. But even to your point about just say a snippet or a clip, a lot of people, not even just on this podcast, but in the world, did not go see the Book of Clarence because of what the trailer presented. It seemed like something that could be very blasphemous, whatever like that. But if you actually go see the movie, and I always like to reiterate that my mom went and seen this movie, and my mom is somebody who definitely don't play about blasphemy, Jesus, even just say Jesus jokes, whatever. Like I said, I've made a joke before that was in reference to just say something related to Jesus and the disciples in the Last Supper that she did not find funny. You feel what I'm saying? So she's a person who I know for a fact if she would have seen this movie and actually it would have been out of order, she would have blatantly said it. And my mom, and I seen it twice. My mom only seen it once, and she was like, that was great. Like, I love the messaging. I love, like, it's literally nothing blasphemous about it at all. You feel what I'm saying? There are entertainment factors in it that we don't know if it actually happened in the Bible or not, in the sense of like people smoking weed, because I don't know. I don't know if they smoked weed back then or not. But that wasn't the basis of the movie. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they just kind of use different little now. Terry, you stop doing whatever you're doing. You're making a lot of noise. I muted you. Don't worry about it. So, but they use a lot of elements from today that and put it in Bible times just to kind of build the character so you can understand who this person is and then the journey that they go on. But the movie itself isn't blasphemous. But if you just judge it by the trailer, you could easily be like, yo, they going to hell. Whoever acted in it going to hell, the director, writer going to hell, et cetera, et cetera. And that's literally what has happened with, because I guarantee you'll see way more podcasts and just say breakdowns of this interview more than you will see the actual views of the actual interview. Like, the actual interview will get way less views than whoever has posted snippets and then thrown gas, just say, on the fire. You feel what I'm saying? And that's a dangerous part of the internet. It's the world we live in. So, I don't know if that will ever change, if people will ever do their due diligence, or they'll just take clips and run with it as they're doing right now. But he definitely wasn't shitting on the church. And as far as what it should be, he was more or less addressing what it has become and why he's calling it whack because it's doing what it's become is doing more long-term damage than it is just say the I guess the short-term effect that it seems like it's having right now. And he's more or less calling that it should change more than saying people should not go to church at all.
Well, he's saying the same thing that we've said on this podcast. He's calling out the particulars about the system and the way that it's set up and the way that churches are run. And the sometimes toxic, sometimes even detrimental of characters of how some churches are run. And we've done it right here. Each and every one of us has, Janessa included. So, nobody's saying that the church is perfect. But, and I'll agree with him on that, I think we all would. But there's a better way to say it. And he took the worst way. So maybe he's the worst.
I don't think he did. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not trying to change your opinion on that. I just don't think he did.
You won't.
And I also think that people want the drama. You feel what I'm saying? Because I've seen this same, and I told this on this podcast back when it happened. I've seen this same guy go on the 85 South Show podcast, which is huge platform, but not as big, nowhere near. Say it again. Tye Tribbett. Yeah.
Tye Tribbett. Okay.
Oh, yeah, he went on 85 South Show, big platform, but not as big as the Breakfast Club, obviously. And the conversation that I had heard him have with him, and he allowed them, because they smoke weed on the podcast. He allowed them to be themselves, smoke weed, cuss, whatever like that. But as they're having different conversations about whatever, he's giving them biblical, just say principle advice without being preachy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's saying like, well, like you could just go about it this way, and then you wouldn't have these different issues here and blah. And I thought it was a real, powerful situation, which maybe that context and helped my lens to Kellie's point of hearing his heart when he's now on the Breakfast Club. But because, and I'm not saying everybody has to follow every interview that he does, but if he would have done something more, just say outlandish or whatever in that scenario, and didn't do such a good thing, that would have gotten more views. But because he was on there and he was quote unquote behaving and just say doing the right thing, that didn't pick up any traction. There's a lot of people who probably don't even know he was ever even on 85 South Show, and they have a huge following. But he goes on the Breakfast Club and he says, the institution of the church is whack, and the systems and all this other type of stuff is whack, and then that's what everybody hangs on to. That's the clip that goes viral, and it's because of that's. Even the blogs and everything, like that's the drama clip that we need. We don't need the whole content. We don't need the whole explanation. This is the lens we want you to look through. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, this is what we want you to see. Hang on to this. Don't worry about doing your homework, and let's get everybody's opinion on what this man said. And and I honestly, like I said, I don't have a problem with it. Because I not only get what he said, but I agree, and I know it's not every church, because nothing is 100%. But because that's on any scale. There's storefront churches that are doing bad and good. There's mega churches that are doing bad and good. You know what I'm saying? And I think and I always credit Kellie's family, because these people who I know personally, like this. That's a mega church who is doing good. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going about it the way that Terry feels that Joel Osteen, is going about it. You feel what I'm saying? But
why must we speak his name?
but it's we've even kind of mentioned before, like if people can take clips from our podcast in these last 3 years and find a snippet and make us seem like we're probably the worst people in the world. You feel what I'm saying? We are the worst one. But and
people do want the drama, to Rudy's point, which is why I talk over people sometimes. We need to have more drama on here so people will listen, because we're saying good stuff. So
we had
drama. Be quiet. Then nobody listen to you. Here, let me throw a drink on you.
I'm gonna come at you. See, you draw them in with the drama.
We already had Janessa and Terry arguing with Kellie looking like this at the nail salon.
One of our best shows ever. Best shows ever.
Yeah, it actually was. We didn't get no traction from it. But
ridiculous. You'd never be a producer.
To the point of me blowing up off this show, if I blew up from this show, you wouldn't need me to owe you anything, Kellie, because that means this show would be making money, and you would have plenty of money in your pocket already. So if this show
I just need you to continue to say my name so can people then I'm gonna make my page public.
Right.
Then I need some endorsements.
Yeah. And the ifs and buts were candy and nuts, then every day would be Christmas. But it ain't. So
yeah. It's no, if this show is the reason why I'm popping, y'all would be popping too. It wouldn't just be me. Now if I get popping and just still a part of this show, then I quit. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. Well, I don't know. So does anybody have anything else?
No, that's it.
I'm good.
Good. Okay.
Janessa, you got a jewel? No.
There's no jewel here.
No jewels.
Kellie, you got a key? Kellie's key?
Reset.
No.
Don't be afraid to reset.
Don't be afraid to reset. I hear that.
I just did. I reset a lot.
Mm-hmm. Spiritually,
no
mentally,
more.
Physically, friendships, relationships.
I just mean more like I dropped that. Worked a lot on that business plan. Dropped it instantaneously. When
no sandwich.
No, I still have. Yeah, but I still have it. It's just now it's going to be at least 2 years. But that's the right thing to do, and it's the thing I should be doing. So it's fine.
Yeah, reset your vision. It's okay.
That's all right. You can put things on the shelf and take them back off the shelf anytime you want.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's all right to pivot. It's all right to pause. It's all right to need another P. Pivot, pause, and prepare. And pray.
I miss Janessa.
Pivot, pause, prepare, and pray.
Not necessarily in that order, but just make sure you do all of
it. Right.
Just cover all 4 P's. Okay. And then,
that was a sermon. Thank you very much.
And if you're not married, you shouldn't get that last P, that 5th P. All right.
Yeah, that's right. That's the OPPP is what that is. That's the last.
They can go for either side. If you're a female or a male, you should not be getting.
What? I can't.
One is a slang word, one is the technical term, but y'all get it. All right. All right. Speaking of fees, Princess Kels.
So at Princess Kels 51, I'm still private until Rudy hits it big, and then I want all the endorsements, and so then I'll go public. But today, private.
You hear that? You can't get Janessa unless you got the right price. And then you can.
Janessa, Kellie, you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry, Janessa. I mean Kellie. I told you I missed Janessa. She's on my brain. So happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday at Jariana _. You can follow her there. They have fun over there. I think she has some version of the Ghetto Garden back popping. I don't know if she still calls it that or not, but she is Garden.
I thought they had fun at the Melanated Brews. No?
Well, I don't know if they still exist.
She's having fun somewhere. Yeah.
How about that? Turn up.
It's speaking of having fun, it's Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms, as well as my book, novel, Unclaimed Ashes, available on Amazon right now.
And then follow at Risa _G, who is our producer, RHESA _G. And that is it from us. Feel free, to find a little clip of us and make us go viral. You know what I'm saying? We'll take the backlash.
We want the backlash.
The rest of them.
Huh?
Yeah.
Don't say nothing bad about me, just the rest of them.
Yeah, I'll say bad things about her in the follow-up. It's fine.
Say stuff about Terry and Rudy. Don't talk about it.
Feel free to take 30 seconds of this hour-long podcast and talk all the shit you want. We will take it. So that our 500,055,000 and 2,300 viewers will have our back, and
Hey, works for Cat Williams. So
yeah, right.
Yeah. Little drama queen.
Right. Thank y'all for listening and watching. As always, if you have not subscribed yet on YouTube as well as the podcast platforms, please do so. Please share these episodes with at least 5 people that you know. And whether they listen or watch or not, that's on them. But just at least share it. We would appreciate it. And until next week, we are the worst ones. We out.
Top of the world.